Hello, Dental A Team listeners. This is Kiera Dent, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for being part of my Dental A Team family. I seriously love doing this podcast. I thought I was going to hate it, and I love it. I love it so much because I get to connect with you. I get to hear how this podcast is helping you and your practice be better. So if you have loved this podcast and you are willing to share, I would greatly appreciate if you'll share with your friends, if you'll leave us a review, if you'll give us 5 stars, anything you can do. Just like you guys grow your practices, we're trying to grow this podcast to positively impact the world of dental. This is how we get to grow our Dental A Team family. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dental A Team podcast. We're your hosts, Kiera Dent
and Dr. Mark Costas.
Mark and I had this crazy idea that maybe we could combine a dentist and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. And Dental A Team podcast was created.
I'm a practicing dentist, a multiple practice owner, a dental performance coach, and the founder of the Dental Success Institute.
I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, current practice owner, and international dental consultant. Mark and I don't just understand you, we are you.
Our goal is to positively impact the world of dentistry by sharing our lessons learned from the road in hundreds of dental offices.
2 perspectives, 1 mission, to help dental professionals reach their full potential. Welcome to the Dental A Team podcast. Hello, Dental A Team listeners. This is Kiera Dent, and I am driving on my way down to my little sister's graduation. Yep, there was a pretty big span in my family, and lo and behold, my little sister is graduating high school today. So I figured I would take this chance to talk with you guys and to kind of share some different topics that have been on my mind. So the first and foremost topic that we're going to tap into today is going to be the operations manual. The reason I'm talking about this is because Mark Costas and I are putting on an actual business mastery operations manual event next week in Scottsdale, Arizona. So for any of you who want to join, shoot us a message, hop onto the dentalateam.com website and snag your tickets. We only are letting 15 people come in. So, we have a huge event, but we just opened it up to the public so you could actually see what Mark and I do on a regular basis. So, but operations manuals, let's dive into some tactical on the operations manual. First and foremost, I think that the operations manual is something that's kind of this beast of a project to tackle. And I think that's why nobody really wants to do it. It's kind of tricky. I remember when I was an office manager, the thought of doing an operations manual exhausted me. And it's funny because that project exhausted me, but the project of hiring and training and retraining and showing, I had over 32 employees when I was hiring. That project didn't seem to exhaust me. And I've contemplated this and wondered why I was content to continually train and train and train and train and train and train and train. That was okay to me, but building this operations manual wasn't a priority to me. And I've come to realize that training people is an absolute must. We have to do it. We have to have employees. We have to have people that can help us get our job done. Whereas the operations manual is something that doesn't have to get done. We don't have to have it in order to run a practice. Those things don't have to happen. So that's where I think that this operations manual takes forever, and we don't put the exact same intentionality behind it as we do hiring, training, because those things have to get done. But if you think about it, if you could, in a perfect world, if you could have an operations manual where you could actually realistically bring someone in, have them go through this, and they are trained for you in the best practice, wouldn't that be easier? Wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't that be worth your time, stress, and headache to put this book together? I truly believe that it is. And as I was talking with Ashley Keith, who comes from corporate America, remember she runs that massive practice. If you haven't listened to her episode, Pose, if you must propose, you also must propose. If you pose, you must also propose. There we go. She runs this phenomenally large practice. And what I've found is if that's really going on and that's the case, she came from corporate America, and what they do in corporate America in almost every other profession. Jason works at the hospital. My dad works for a college and he works in religion. all these other my brother, he's getting ready to work for an engineering company. My other brother, he's a geophysicist for ConocoPhillips. When they go and they get hired by these companies, they have about a 2-week onboarding process. They go through all the systems, all the protocols of that company. And yet in dental, what do we do? Come on in, watch Sally. Let's see if we can make this work. And the office manager is going to show you a few things, and good luck. We hope you make it. We don't take the time to make these set protocols. So I think let's give you guys some tangibles of how to actually get this done and to do it in a way. Most of the practices that I work with, we try to get the operations manual done in 3 months. And what I found is the reason people usually don't get this done is that they try to make it perfect. And I feel like in this one, done is better than perfect. Let's at least get something that's done, and then you can revamp it and rework it. I just did this with the consultants as we onboard them. I made my first draft and then I just went back and revamped it. It's a lot easier once you have something done to start. So what I always recommend you start with is, first of all, determine the positions in your practice. So not everyone's going to have a care coordinator. Not everyone's going to have a TC. Some people are going to have one front office, and that's your office manager, your scheduler, and your treatment coordinator. So figure out the positions. Other offices are massive. You have the phone call booth. Like, there are people that actually are taking calls and in the call center. That's a position in your practice. Other people are going to have TC, the main TC. You're going to have the special procedures TC. You're going to have other positions in your practice. So make sure you figure out the positions in your practice. After that, Mark and I talk about where you build your mission, vision, and core values. Don't take forever on these. These can change. They can be fluid. I remember on a flight, surprise, surprise, I was flying. That's where I wrote my mission, vision, and core values. I just wrote it down. What came to me, what spoke to me. And then I revamped it to where my core values are the KDC Dental A team. Our core values are FIRE. It should be fun. We should be full of integrity. You should get results, receiving more value than you expect, and it should be with ease. So our core values are FIRE. That's all it is. That's all I do. But it took me quite a while to get to the point where I realized that FIRE were my true core values. So just put these on paper. That way you at least have a starting point. Figure out your 7 core values that really resonate with you and your company. Then from there, so you've already got all the actual job positions in your practice. Then you have your core values. After that, you're going to start with a job description. It's pretty easy. Just say like, our ideal TC does XYZ. I usually list off about 10 things in this job description. It's not going to be perfect, and it's not listing every single thing that they do. It's just a general basic job description. Once again, these are fluid. We're trying to get this done. Not perfect right now. We're doing our first draft. And I think if you can think of your first draft of the operations manual as a first draft, meaning you can go back and fix it later on, that always feels a little bit better. So after you get that done, write a job description and have your team help you write a job description where they list off the 10 main things that encompass what their job is. After you do that, Mark and I love to have you guys do a time journaling exercise for every position in the practice. For the next 2 or 3 days, have them write down what they do every 15 minutes of the day. Check your email, answer the phone, schedule patients, go through this whole process. This is going to allow you to start to build a protocol or a flow for every single position in the practice that you will then be working on until that way the person knows when they come in what the ideas are for them to be doing as they're entering your practice. Don't worry, guys. I just went through agriculture security checkpoint when you go between Nevada and California. They always make you stop. They wave you on. They want to check to see if you have fruits and vegetables. And I have a microphone in the car, and the guy just gave me the most random, bizarre look and gave me the thumbs up like I was doing something cool. So sorry, I lost a little bit of my train of thought on that. It was a pretty funny moment. This is real life Kiera Dent podcasting while I drive. So back to this. You want to make the employee flow. The idea behind this is going to build a structure for you where you then can build protocols that are step-by-steps once you kind of get each position figured out. So what does this person do in the morning? First thing when they show up in the morning, what is this person responsible for in every single position within the practice? After that, what do they do during the day? What do they do at the end of the day? What do they do every month, quarter, and every year? This then, can you see how if you can get this written down in a flow, you can then build templates off of this. Templates are going to be the step-by-step how to do this specific task. But if they have a flow, they then know everything they're supposed to do. Also, that flow will allow you to build morning checklist, middle of the day checklist, and end of day checklist. I usually recommend just starting with an end of day checklist at the beginning. Once you get a more advanced or sophisticated practice, or you already have this manual done, you then can go to those more specific checklists. Remember, the more specific a checklist is, the better it is. However, do not have a checklist that is 3 pages long. I recommend 1 page that the person can easily do that are the primary things that they should get done every single day. That's why it's called end of day. That doesn't mean they do it at the end of the day, and it doesn't only encompass the tasks that are done at the end of the day. It encompasses all the pieces that person should be getting done, like the top 10 to 15 items that should be done every single day. So for example, a hygiene end of day checklist would include, are all their notes done for the day? That's absolutely mandatory before they leave, that their notes need to be done. What was their production out of goal? How many fluoride applications did they do out of the patients that they saw? Did they do all their post-op calls for the day from all the patients who had SRP or anesthetic from the day before? Did they get all their instruments sterilized? Did they do their trays? Are the trays all set up for the next day? Are their rooms set up? Is their water bottle refilled so they're ready to go for the next morning? Did they clock out? Did they sign this off and give this to the office manager? Do you see how that end of day checklist encompasses the most important pieces of this person's day? It's not everything that they do at the end of the day. It just makes sure it encompasses everything that they do throughout the day. So building an end of day checklist for every position, once you get the flow, is going to help you then keep everybody on track. I just recently realized that the consultants that are a part of my company, when we do our in-office consulting, I was expecting them to remember, as human nature, what we do before we go into an office, what they do at an office, and what they do post-office. So when I did this, I realized that I was expecting human nature to take over and that people would remember all these pieces. They're common knowledge for me. They totally make sense to me, but yet to other people, they don't make sense. They're not natural. That's how our dental offices are. It is not natural for people to do these jobs the way we want them done. That is not a natural thing for them. So we have to build checklists that are very self-explanatory that anybody could do at any time. That's the idea that you're trying to get to with this manual. But remember, a first draft is what we're going for. We're not going for perfect. We're going for our first draft so we have something there. Also, when we're making these packets, we've got our flow, we've got our end of day checklist. We also like to build accountability agreements. This is something Mark and I do. So the person knows, the position, hey, this is my job. This is my job description. This is my protocol that I follow, my flow of the day. This is my end of day checklist that I'm responsible for. These are the core values of the company, and I am committing myself to being a great team player, and I am going to hold myself accountable to this. I know that this is my job. I've been fully trained and informed, and I'm going to live up to it. We create these accountability agreements so that way every single team member has clear expectations, and when expectations are met, frustration is minimized. Another piece that goes well at this beginning phases of the operations manual is a KPI. Building KPIs for every single position can be so beneficial for you. So let's use the hygiene team. A couple great KPIs that they report on every single week or every single month. Remember, KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. Some great ones for that could be that they were able to do 50 or 70% fluoride acceptance, that they have a 98% reappointment percentage, that they hit their goal 80% of the time, that they produce X amount of treatment out of their room. So let's say that you have a big practice that maybe they have $80,000 worth of treatment that's accepted out of their room every single month. Those are great KPIs for a hygienist. If you build those KPIs into this beginning part, this becomes a very easy onboarding packet that you can then give to a new hygienist that comes in. They see the core values, they get a job description, they have the flow of what their day should look like from beginning, middle to end, what they're responsible for weekly, monthly, quarterly, and at the end of the year. They're also aware of their end of day checklist, so it gives them a quick checklist that they'll turn in every single night. They have a KPI and they have their accountability agreement. If you can get those pieces done, those pieces are the first base to starting a fantastic operations manual. You've just built the massive skeleton that needs to be completed. After that, you then look at every person's flow of their job and you build how-tos off of every single one of those. It becomes very simple. How do they clock in? How do they turn on the computer? How do they log into Open Dental or Dentrix? How do they perio chart? How do they take x-rays? What is our perio protocol of when we do FMPs, when we do a full mouth set of x-rays, when we recommend scaling and root planing, when we do, an isolated 1 to 3, what is our perio protocol? Also, what is the frequency? How do we make an appointment? How do they do the sterilization? How do we sterilize? How do they set up trays for hygiene? When do we order? All those pieces will be part of the flow, and that's how you start to build the how-tos. The idea should be that they could look at things that they're supposed to do when they show up, when they're in the middle of the day, at the end of the day, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. Because if they can see this and they can have a how-to of how to do all these, think of how easy your training process is. Now, what happens is we have, in the dental aid team, we have a customizable 650-page operations manual. That is huge. And what happens? You guys make all these, you stick them on a shelf, they feel really, really good, and then they're never used. That's not the best way to use an operations manual. Instead, I recommend that you actually create small packets that are placed for every single position. The front office one, what they do every single day, these checklists, they should be with the check-in person. The TC should have their packet every single day, this little, make it into a spiral bound where it sits with them. It's an actively used document and packet that they're actively using. The how-to should be with them. How do we schedule calls? What is our scripting for this? It sits at their desk with them. So it's a quick reference guide of your practices and policies within your practice. That way it's actually used. In the back office team, so many of you spend so much time taking pictures of tray setups just to have it go into a book that's stuck in sterilization that nobody uses. Why not take those pictures, laminate them, put them on a ring, and stick them actually in the operatory so your assistants pull it out, look at the picture, and utilize it. If it's in the room and it's laminated, guess what? You can wipe those with Cavi wipes and you can use this all the time. Why not put it there? So making smaller packets per position is the easiest way. I love to have one of these massive books so everything's in there so anyone at any time could find any information on the practice. But I also love having smaller packets that are per position that are there. That would be an onboarding piece. Just imagine your life. Think of what corporate does. How do they get all these people to operate the same way? They run way bigger organizations than we do in dental offices. That's just a known fact. So why not look at how they're doing it, and why not mirror and mimic what's working and fine tune it to be even better for the dental offices? Okay, guys, if you want help getting this operations manual done, if you feel like, holy moly, Kiera, you're speaking to my heart and soul today. Awesome. I'm so glad. How are you going to start? How are we going to start? Number one, make that vision, core values, mission statement, and get those into place. That's very easy. Give yourself 10, 15 minutes. Have your team do it. Maybe that's a weekly meeting that you do. Put that into place right now. Up next, job descriptions. Everybody can write a job description. I can give you guys some sample templates. Every single person can do their job description. After that, time journaling, so we can get the flow of what every single position does at the beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day. After that, we create end of day checklists. Then we build KPIs per position, and then we build accountability agreements. After that, we go through our whole flow, the whole flow process, and we build how-tos, and then we take pictures, put them into place, have it done. If you can map this in 3 months, I promise you can get it done. You're welcome to use our operations manual. I don't think you have to. It just is a good skeleton that kind of maps out where do you even start. Has all these pieces. A lot of them are pre-made and a lot of them are templates. So everybody makes them the exact same way. They're blank templates because I found if I wrote it for you, it's really hard. You then have to go through, and that's not the steps that you do for your practice. That's way too hard. This is how you guys get the operations manual done. But that way it's not just sitting on a shelf, never being used. It actually is being used, utilized, and effectively efficient. So when you onboard people, you figured it out. This is draft 1. Draft 2, you swap those how-tos. You make other people try it out. Can somebody take my step-by-steps that I did for how to clock in? Can I give that to somebody who's not me and see if they can actually get the same results that I'm looking for? Yes or no? If it's yes, I did a great job. If it's no, we fine tune it so that way any person at any time can take any how-to and be able to figure it out without somebody telling them how to do it. This is an effective, efficient A-team practice. This is what we're going for, teams. Okay, if you have great ideas, there's another one, TrainUL. It is an online training resource. You can put videos in there. Everything can be housed online if you don't want the tangible how-to. Handbook. I personally like a book. I'm very big. I don't like to watch videos. Videos are hard for me. I'm a much better learner when it comes to visual and I can read it. I will retain it so much more than I will watching a video. Open Dental, I read theirs instead of watching their videos. That's how I learn. You need to have both. I think it's important to have both. The easiest one is to have the written one first, then you can build upon it. I recommend every single quarter your team works on some aspect of the manual, even after it's completed. That way it stays current, up to date, and it's constantly being updated. I promise you, corporate America does not just do this one time and then they say goodbye to it forever. No, they're constantly updating it, making sure it's the best of the best. All right, guys, there is Operations Manual 101. Feel free to come join me and Mark if you would like to. Get your tickets right away. Otherwise, take the steps from this podcast, put it into place, let us know. Thank you guys so much for listening on the Dental A Team podcast. I'll be sure to catch you next time. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.